on Facebook right now. As you got your little message, that means that if you have your camera on, it's possible that your face could show up on our Facebook feed. Sorry, my watch is talking to me. So we do love to see your faces, but obviously if you don't want your face to be on our Facebook feed, you can turn your camera off.
And welcome everyone. Welcome everyone here in the room with us and anyone joining, watching on Facebook. If you're here, we'd love to invite you to introduce yourselves in the chat, your name, your pronouns, where you're joining from, and if you're part of another organization that you'd like to lift up into the space, that would be great. I see some folks in the chat mentioning, we're all very worried and sad about Ukraine. Just want to acknowledge that is happening while we are talking about this issue here. I know I've certainly been emotional about it all day as well. But thank you all for being here with us. It has been a very big week, day, year in North Carolina redistricting world. So we appreciate you all being here with us. Let's see, I'm gonna try to find my, I guess we should introduce ourselves, because there might be new people. My name is Bree Bro. I'm the digital organizer with All on the Line North Carolina.
My name is Lakey Shipek. I'm the North Carolina State Director.
And for anybody who might be new here with us for the first time, All on the Line is a 501c4 campaign. We exist to bring citizens across every issue, people who care about a range of things together to fight for fair maps in North Carolina, to win on redistricting. And, we've been working for the past year plus on educating folks on the harmful effects of gerrymandering and just working to engage in the redistricting process and get fair maps in North Carolina. Just to kind of go over a bit about where we're going to go tonight. Obviously, there has been a lot of news about maps. We have maps in North Carolina. We scheduled this meeting for today because we thought we would be at some kind of a turning point, and we didn't know if we would have final maps or not, but we do. So we're going to finish our introductions and do some housekeeping, and then we will talk about where things stand, kind of what happened with the litigation, where we are with the maps. We'll look at the maps that we have, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's going to happen next for All on the Line North Carolina. Okay, so if you haven't already, please go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat. It's great to see a lot of new faces. Include your name and your pronouns, your location, where you're calling in from, and your organizational affiliations. Also, if folks have just joined, want to mention that this meeting is being recorded and we are live on Facebook. You're welcome to put questions in the chat. And also, we'll have time for questions as we go. And at the end, if you want to unmute to ask questions, that's also welcome. All right, we do have a little poll. I thought we would lighten things up a little. I want to get take the temperature of folks on a scale of Oprah. How are you feeling about the maps that we have? So Lakey, I think you might have to launch the poll for us. And it would only let me add 10 options. So 1 and 11 are the same. Great. So this is just kind of for fun, and also to kind of get a sense of where folks are at, given what about the maps that passed. So, what so far. So we'd love to just hear, on a scale of Oprah's many wonderful faces, how are you feeling? I know.
People are having all kinds of Oprah feelings, the full range of Oprahs.
Some people have not seen the maps yet. That's totally fine. You know, we usually have a little poll and thought it would be fun to, yeah. Great. Lots of shocked. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll give folks just another minute and then can we pop up the answers?
Yeah, sure.
Are we getting close? All right, great. That's fun. Thanks y'all for doing that. I see some folks adding in the chat, and feel free to do that in the chat, how you're feeling about them. Yep, good. Some curious, some not sure what just happened, some upset, some cautiously optimistic. A lot of cautiously optimistic is I think the number one answer. So that's great. Well, we're going to talk more about them. Just wanted to kind of see where folks were at with it. Okay, this is kind of how I feel about it.
This is actually perfect. Bree and I were talking earlier today, and we were like, how can we capture the way that we're feeling right now? And I said something like, yay. And I think this is right.
Yeah, I mean, the process is over. It feels, I think for me, it feels a little anticlimactic because, you know, we've been at this for so long and the maps kept changing. We had draft maps, we had maps that had passed, you know, they were not good at all. They were very bad. And then we had this redraw process, and then, you know, they finally kind of became final last night at like 10 p.m. And we'll go through this, but you know, when they basically there was when the Supreme Court sort of just declined to issue a stay to the election. So there was like a lot of drama, and then it was like, oh, okay. So, you know, it's a mixed bag. The maps are not perfect for sure. Some are better. I think some are fairer than others. But they are, all of them are more representative and more responsive to voters than the original maps that we had out of the process. And that's a testament to all the people who have been working very, very hard for the past year plus to fight for the fairest possible maps that we could get out of this process, this legislature this year. So, and one of the reasons that we got the wins that we did get is because so many of you on this call have been fighting, paying attention, you know, really pushing for transparency and fairness and holding legislators accountable. So for the good things that we have, the maps that are good, the parts of the maps that are good and better than what we would have otherwise had, everyone here should be very proud, and we really appreciate all of the hard work that went into it. I'll turn it over to Leica to talk a little bit more about kind of where we are with them.
Yeah, so where things are at the moment is that we have legislative and Senate maps. We have legislative maps that are final, so that's our North Carolina State House and State Senate maps. The maps that were passed out of the legislature are the ones that were accepted by the court. So those are final for the purposes of the 2022 election. It is possible, even though the sort of emergency stays were denied, meaning that these maps are going to be used for the next election, it is possible for plaintiffs to keep pursuing litigation on these maps going forward. It just would not affect the maps that are going to be used this year. So that's where that is. The congressional map that was passed by the legislature was not accepted. There is a map that has been drawn by the special masters that were hired by the trial court, and that is the congressional map that is in place for 2022. And that's where we are. We have maps for this year. Candidate filing opened this morning. I'm sure you all, if you have all been on Twitter, you've seen a ton of people saying, oh, I'm filing here, I'm filing there. So things are moving ahead, and the primary will go ahead on May 17th. So there's still some things that could happen, but for now, we feel like this is a pretty settled place. We know what's going to happen this year.
Yeah. Which does feel good. I am grateful that the candidate filing was able to open and we are moving forward. We want to talk a little bit just for folks. I feel like there has just been a ton of news, and I've been getting emails from folks kind of wondering exactly what's been going on. And so we want to just kind of walk through and make sure that everyone knows kind of how we got to this place. So just a quick kind of recap. On February 4th, which again, it's February, that's 20 days ago. It feels like 2 years ago, but on February 4th, the Supreme Court of North Carolina overturned the NCGA, the General Assembly enacted maps. They said they were unconstitutional, partisan gerrymanders, and as part of their opinion, they laid out the tests that could be used, some of the tests that could be used to determine whether maps are constitutional under the North Carolina Constitution. On February 18th, which was last Friday, the NCGA submitted remedial maps. So they spent 2 weeks redrawing the maps, and they submitted those maps to the trial court. So the North Carolina Superior Court, which is where the case had been sent back to after the Supreme Court ruled. They submitted those remedial maps to the Superior Court, to the 3-judge panel, as did 2 of the plaintiffs in the case. All of the parties to the case had been allowed to submit remedial maps to be considered. So that happened last Friday. The Superior Court, the 3-judge panel, they appointed 3 special masters. All 3 were former North Carolina judges. And then those special masters hired some nonpartisan experts, some subject matter experts, to help them look at the submitted maps and determine whether they passed muster, whether they were constitutional. So that 3-judge panel, based on the recommendations of their special masters, accepted the legislature's North Carolina House and North Carolina Senate maps. Just for context as well, the North Carolina House map that passed through the legislature it was a compromise map. The Democrats and Republicans got together and they compromised on a map, and it passed the House 115-5. So it was almost unanimous that it passed the House. The Senate map was not a compromise. It passed strictly on party lines. And the 3-judge panel accepted both of those maps. They rejected the congressional map, as Laika just said. They said that it did not fulfill, it was not constitutional under the Supreme Court's order. And instead, they asked the special masters to take that map and basically make it constitutional. So the special masters with their helpers redrew the map to make it comply with the court order. Then that happened yesterday. That they told us what they were doing, that they accepted those maps, and they told us that they were going to accept this special master drawn congressional map. All of the parties to the case had until 5 p.m. yesterday. So the maps were accepted at noon. Parties to the case had until 5 p.m. yesterday to ask for an emergency stay if they disagreed with the court's decision on any of those maps. All of the parties to the case asked for an emergency stay. Every party to the case objected to at least one of the maps. And the Supreme Court denied all of those requests. So the candidate filing opened at 8 a.m. The election is going forward. We have now a House, Senate, and congressional map. Any questions? Does anyone, we could pause there if anybody has questions, or I don't know if there are questions in the chat, Laika.
Yeah, there's some questions in the chat. So I see that someone asked, just to clarify, the special masters were the people hired by the retired judges. No, so the retired judges were the chosen special masters. However, map making is very technical, and also the metrics that were set up are quite technical. And so then those special masters were allowed by the court to hire further experts to help them, but the actual special masters were 3 retired judges. And there's a question, do we know the vote by the North Carolina Supreme Court to deny the emergency stay? I don't think we know that.
I think we know.
Yeah. Let me see. I think those are, Tina asked, did the court special masters have any special knowledge or skills to contribute? So they're retired judges, so they were like, and many of them are like active. So one of them was someone who had started a fair districting organization. The others are sort of like political commentators now. So like they're aware of some of the aspects of this, but they're not like mathematicians or anything. So I think that those are all the questions I saw.
Okay.
I have a very general question, and it's just because of the flurry of activity between a day ago and now. I've gotten a little, I haven't been able to keep up with it. And a bottom line question is, and maybe you're going to cover this, of the options that were available 48 hours ago and where we wound up, where on the reasonable scale from a neutral person are we? Say 5 being neutral and 0 being extremely unfair and 10 being extremely fair. Where did we wind up?
So I think it's actually a complex question in the sense that, so we have a congressional map that was drawn by these special masters. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but that congressional map has extreme partisan symmetry. It's very, it can produce a 7-7 result quite easily, which lines up with the statewide percentages of the vote. However, there are things about it that are still problematic. The House map, I think, is a map that was a compromise map between Republicans and Democrats in the legislature. However, not, I don't know that that is like the perfect map. I think there's still issues with that as well. And I'm not sure. I think it falls within the metrics by the court. And so that's the reason it was accepted. The Senate map is sort of a different matter. Like Bree said, it was passed along party lines, and there are many places in which it fails the court's metrics. I think a lot of people think it's still quite a partisan gerrymander. All the plaintiffs appealed that map. So
it's likely it's likely that we'll see some further challenges down the road. Of the 3, the Senate map seems to be the most unbalanced.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I think, like I was saying earlier, it's quite possible for the plaintiffs to continue pursuing litigation on that Senate map, even though they didn't get the emergency stay. So they can still keep going to the court about that map. It just means that that map is going to be used for the elections this year. It doesn't really say anything about what's going to happen after that.
Okay, so I was at my local board of elections yesterday, and they had a list of dates, a sheet of which I took. So those dates will still be in effect. They basically, yes. Okay, got it. Thank you.
These maps are in effect for 2022. It does, the fact that the Supreme Court denied the stay request does not mean that these maps cannot be further litigated. It just means that they are not going to push back the election to do it. But I also would just want to say that the fact that we got all this litigation before there was an election is a vast improvement over the previous cycle, when it took years to get maps actually like in front of the Supreme Court and litigated and fixed to any extent. So
I see Karen has her hand raised, and so Karen, let's take your question and then let's move on, because we're going to talk about the actual maps.
Cool. So I just want to make sure I understood. So this, on the Senate map, the court accepted a map that did not meet their own criteria that they laid out, that the court themselves laid out?
So the trial court accepted the map because, so basically the Supreme Court order had a bunch of different criteria in it. The opinion had further like elucidated on that criteria. One of the things it said is that the map should come in have an under 7% or less efficiency gap and 1% or less mean median difference. You don't have to know what those are. Those are just those two measures. The Senate map passed the efficiency gap in a minimal number of elections, failed the mean median gap in all of the sample elections. So the trial court said that, well, it passed one of those measures, so it's fine. That's why plaintiffs appealed that map. But it did nominally pass one of the measures. It did not pass other ones.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to continue on, but we are going to look at the maps and we can answer more questions as we go. Okay, so I also just wanted to take a moment and lift up the amount of work that folks on this call and that are part of this network have done in the past year. Over 1,700 people have attended a meeting with us or a training or a workshop. There were 500 public testimony shifts where people trained and worked on public testimony to give public input on these maps. We submitted at least 50 letters to the editor and op-eds. Really great work folks did writing to make sure that this issue was kept in the public eye. Over the past couple of weeks, we had a team of about 100 volunteers who were calling legislators every day, calling and emailing, making sure that they knew they were going to be accountable and asking questions and making sure that they knew people were watching. And we had at least 20 people who shared their personal redistricting stories. And all of this was really important in this effort to get fair maps this year. So thank you. That's just to say thank you all.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank
okay.
you for all the work you guys did. You did anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll look at the maps. We'll look at the maps now.
Bree, I think that the right side of the slides are being cut off for people.
Thank you.
Yes, they are. That was what my hand was raised about.
All right. Sorry about that.
Okay, I think it looks right now.
Okay. Is it being covered up now?
It
No,
looks normal to me.
Okay, cool.
Could they be a little larger, please? If possible. Thank you.
Yeah. I will, not sure if I can get them larger.
Do it as a slideshow. Do
Is
it as a
that better?
slideshow. You do it as a slideshow.
All right. Let me stop sharing.
Man.
I think. Just give me a second. Y'all.
Actually, you do it as presentation in the presentation mode.
Well, that's what presentation mode was.
Okay, so it was cutting it off from presentation?
Yeah, I
It's
think
like you
so.
were doing it. It's like you were doing it in presenter mode, which keeps it within the window, which we tend to do because it's easier for us to like do other stuff and look at the chat and things.
Yeah.
If you just hit regular slideshow, it'll do the thing where it takes up your whole screen.
But then how do I share my screen?
Yeah, see, I think that's the problem. I mean, I think you can, but
Let me see if I do it this way.
yeah.
Share your screen and then go into the slideshow.
Is that showing it?
Yeah, it looks
That
right.
looks like it, yeah.
Okay. Is that better? Marginally.
marginally.
Yeah.
Okay, that's as big as I can make it right now.
Yeah.
We'll share. I'll send a follow-up email with a link to these. But this is the congressional map. It is most of the news outlets and experts that I've seen are considering this map to elect pretty solidly, have 7 districts that are likely to elect a Republican, 6 that are likely to elect a Democrat, and 1 real competitive swing district. You know, like we said, I don't think this is a perfect map, but it does improve on the previous map in that, you know, Guilford County is whole. It doesn't split Mecklenburg, Guilford, or Wake County into 3 different districts. You know,
Is it double bunking Virginia Fox though and Kathy Manning?
No.
No,
No,
that's not happening anymore. Okay, good.
no.
Sorry, it
Other
doesn't split,
questions?
it doesn't split which ones?
So the previous map split Mecklenburg County, Wake County, and Guilford County into 3 different congressional districts. So this doesn't do that. It has to split. Wake County and Mecklenburg County have to be split somewhere. So it only splits them once, which is an improvement.
Okay.
And like I said at the beginning, it does have a very high degree of partisan symmetry. It reflects the partisan makeup of the state pretty accurately.
But doesn't 6 dilute with putting Guilford with Rockingham and Caswell, which is pretty red?
Guilford has a much larger population than either of those counties, so it's not actually having it's having some effect, but that's still a very safe Democratic district.
I believe that the competitive district is 13,
Yes.
that green district in the middle with Southern Wake, Johnston.
Wiley Nickel. That's where he's running.
Interesting.
How does this map handle a preservation of communities of interest and the Sandhills area?
Yeah, so I think that that's the part of the map that we're the most disappointed in, is that it really does still split up a lot of those communities. You can see that, you know, it really just splits the way Winston-Salem is split in half. You have also Fayetteville is being split. Charlotte is being split down the middle again, which is, you know, we would want to like hopefully see most of it being kept together. Same thing is happening to Raleigh. So yeah, those are all, I think, problematic things about this map in our mind. But it's definitely a huge improvement over the maps that were passed by the legislature. So.
So I have a question. This is Rolanda. Is that why District 2 has got such a little small area?
Yeah, it's just the population. Wake County now has the largest population of any county in the state. So, you know, it has to be split for that reason. And yeah, so many people live in Wake County that there can be a whole congressional district that's just about half of the county.
Okay, thank you.
All of these districts have the exact same number of people according to the census data, assuming the census data is accurate, but each of these districts, regardless of the size that they are on the map, have the same number of people in them.
Hey, I am represented by the great patriot, Madison Cawthorn, sarcasm intended. Where does he wind up then, in 11 or 14? Where does he wind up?
Well, I'm having
He lives in 11.
Yeah, he lives in 11. However,
The other maps flipped him to 14, and then anyway, I'm not sure where he's. I guess I'll find out.
Well, so what happened in the previous map, the original map that was enacted by the state legislature, is that his mountain district was still a safe Republican district, slightly more competitive than the district that was drawn around Cleveland County. This map is very similar. The mountain district is a safe Republican district, but much more competitive than that district that's around Cleveland County. I would assume, and the situation is similar enough that I would assume that he would continue to want to run in that Cleveland County district. I mean, but who knows?
Hopefully he ends up nowhere.
Also a possibility.
Yeah, he is currently listed though, believe it or not, as a candidate in 13.
Well, that's because he had filed to run there.
Yeah, but
before they
I just
changed
thought it
the
was
map.
funny because I checked because Wayne
Yeah.
County, and I wanted to see what was going. And I said, "Oh no, you're not. Yeah, go back somewhere."
That's the spirit.
Yeah, don't make me come after you.
All right, should we talk
Question.
about the Senate?
I have a question about the congressional map again.
Okay.
If when we say something is either safe Democrat, safe Republican, or competitive, how do we make that distinction? What's the percentages of votes that we consider to be competitive versus non-competitive?
I think I need to look. I think that it's usually 52 and above is considered safe, but I'm not sure if that's correct. Let me see if I can look and see.
That would be a good simple number to have, even though it may not always be exactly accurate, but having a general idea.
I think it's 52, anything 52% and above, at least in the way that we've seen people break down these districts as being considered safe for one party or the other.
So if there was a wave, let's say there was a Democratic wave, for example, where, statewide we got 55%, would that mean we'd get more than maybe 7 districts out of that? We'd get, maybe 8 or 9 or something?
Honestly, I have not seen those numbers run, so I'm really not sure.
I think it's likely that there will be a lot more analysis coming out. And I'll try to keep an eye out for that and include any analysis that we see in newsletters. So
yeah,
keep an eye out.
I'll put a link to a tweet in the chat that someone made a chart of the partisan breakdown of the districts.
Okay, do you want to talk about the Senate map a little bit?
Well, I think Karen Heiser has her hand up.
Karen, did you want to ask something?
No, sorry, that was from before.
Okay.
Okay.
So the Senate map, I think, like I was saying before, the Senate map, I think, is the most problematic map of these three. The numbers that I've seen for the actual breakdown would be around 61 safe Republican seats, 11 competitive seats, and 48 Democratic seats. Obviously, that's not anywhere close to 50-50. Also, it just preserves a lot of problematic things from the previous enacted map. So you can see Buncombe is being put in a district with McDowell instead of being put in a district with Henderson, which would make more sense for the people who live there and also be somewhat more competitive, have somewhat more competitive districts. You can also see that there, you probably can't see because it's very small, but there's actually a chunk being taken out of Wilmington and being put into a district with Brunswick and Columbus.
Oh, wow. Sure is.
Yeah, that's an issue. The way that Fayetteville is being split in the district is also a clear issue. So in general, this map probably like a little bit of an improvement over the previously enacted map, but still very problematic, still something that we think is an obvious partisan gerrymander, still something that failed on a lot of the metrics. Someone earlier was asking about what metrics. So mean median difference was one, efficiency gap was another one, and a third one that I think they put the most emphasis on was basically where it would fall in a distribution of nonpartisan maps, like if they did another ensemble analysis. That was not strongly relied on by anyone, I think, who submitted maps, but it was another thing that was mentioned in the court opinion. So really the mean, median, and efficiency gap were the two that the court really decided to emphasize. But anyway, this map does not pass mean median on any of the statewide elections from 2016 to 2020. So yeah, problematic map. Possible it could still be litigated. A lot of issues that we saw in the previous enacted map are still here.
I've got a question.
Mhm.
How did they manage to break District 1 up like they did? Part of
Yeah,
that
so
is, that is crazy.
yeah, so
Yeah.
part of the issue is that the way that actually is working is actually determined by our county groupings. So that basically there was a choice of two different ways to group those counties. This one is the slightly better option. The other way to do it that they had it before was really bad and basically like ran from Halifax all the way down to, I don't know, Carteret or something. And it was not so this was the less bad option, still not a great option. But it was because of the way we do county groupings in North Carolina. Personally, I think county groupings are a bad idea and we shouldn't do them. And I think they're probably not constitutional, but that's just my personal opinion and I don't get to be a judge. So I don't get to decide that. But yeah, that's why it looks that way.
Thank you.
Like, I don't know if you can see the notes for this slide. I don't remember off the top of my head the breakdown. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so this map, still somewhat favors Republicans, but less so than the previous enacted map. So there are 41 safe Democratic seats, 16 lean Democratic seats, 9 lean Republican seats, and 54 safe Republican seats.
And this was the map that, Republicans drew the map and then Democrats were able to negotiate essentially and get some of the lines changed in the process. And then it was approved by pretty much the full House. But it is still, I would not call it a fully fair map. Does anyone have any questions before we move on about any of the maps? Any more questions?
On the congressional map, was Moore able to set himself up for a safe seat?
Basically, it depends on where Madison Cawthorn decides to run. That basically he's in a similar situation to the original enacted map in that there is a very safe Republican district around Cleveland County where he lives that could be for him, but that is also the same area that Madison Cawthorn decided to run in on the previous maps.
So that takes away the definitive seat that Moore was looking for.
Again, it's if you can predict what Madison Cawthorn's going to do,
but
that's the factor that we don't have any control over, knowledge of. Also, who knows, he may get disqualified for being an insurrectionist, which he was. So yeah.
And also, we don't know who else is planning to run. I think the reason that district was drawn the way it was drawn in the previous map was that it was drawn so that there would be no other potential Republican candidates in that.
And Moore could have it safely.
And Moore would have, would not have to have a primary. I'm not sure whether that's the case in this map, Madison Cawthorn notwithstanding. But we'll know pretty soon, I think.
Do I understand correctly that even if there were fairly rapid litigation, that could still not affect the 2022 election?
Yeah, basically the state Supreme Court has said that these are the maps for this year. They can still litigate on the maps, but the maps are not going to change for this elections.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Can a federal court case change that on the congressional map?
All of the claims that were involved in this case are state law claims. So this case in itself would not carry over to federal courts. I mean, who knows what someone would do, but I would also think that any court at this point would probably be disinclined to push back elections again.
Okay, we're gonna just keep, we have a couple more items on the agenda, and then if folks want to stay on and we can show the maps again and answer any more questions, we're happy to do that. Have a few announcements. Leica.
Yeah, so I do have something to tell you all, and it is that I am actually going to be leaving All on the Line.
That is not an option.
I agree.
I've really felt so lucky to do this. Redistricting is my passion. You all know I'm a huge redistricting nerd, so being able to do this job for the past 3 years almost has been amazing, and I feel so lucky. And also just getting to work with Bree. I mean, y'all know how wonderful Bree is, and I adore her, and we have just had a wonderful, crazy year this year getting to work together. And also we have the best volunteers. You all know how we feel about you. You know that we love showing up early and chatting with you, joking around with you all, making you come and let me like force you to look at memes all day. You all have been amazing. So many of you have been here since I started, have been by even before Bree came on, when I was just doing everything by myself. You all were here and you all have always been fantastic. And yeah, anyway, so, I'm going to put my email in the chat. My email will still be active for a few weeks if people want to get in touch. And I'm not leaving North Carolina. I'm still going to be in North Carolina. I'm still going to be living here. I'm still going to be doing some work related to North Carolina. I'm actually going to be doing states outreach for a democracy watchdog organization. So there's plenty of stuff related to that that's going to be happening in North Carolina. So I will still be around. And yeah, I'm so thankful to all of you, and just to get to have this experience. It is just really priceless. So thank you all.
Thank you.
If anybody wants to, I want to invite folks to put in the chat, notes to Leica, or feel free to unmute if you want to say something. I mean, I think we all know Leica is like has like an encyclopedic knowledge of everything redistricting in North Carolina. I am constantly in awe of just whenever I have a question about something, like she knows the case law. She's just been doing it for a really long time and is really good at explaining things in a way that, everyone can understand, and even, making it funny with the memes. I've been totally in awe and feel so grateful to have worked with her, and all of you, of course. And just, the way that Leica would sit through those hearings and tweet them so that we could all know what was happening without having to be there. I mean, we're talking like hours, 8 hours, 10 hours of hearings, just documenting it for us. So just, I know I have so much appreciation for everything Leica's done in this. And I know that a lot of folks here do too. And if you want to put anything in the chat or unmute, then you're welcome to do that. And I'll print off the chat or something so that Leica can use it for her. Maybe you can wallpaper, maybe you can incorporate into one of your murals in your house, Leica.
You all, it's so kind to see all your messages in the chat. And like I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be in North Carolina. If, you all are continue to be doing volunteering and stuff like you are, I'm sure you'll see me. I'm sure Bree will rope me in to do something or other for All on the Line again soon. So I'm around if you really want to find me. I'm sure you can follow my Twitter. But yeah,
I know where she lives.
Yeah. Bree, the way you said that was scary. I mean, I know I don't need to be scared, but also maybe I need to be scared.
Just saying, if we have a redistricting emergency, I'm just going to show up at your house,
That's true.
A big map or something. I don't know. So just in terms of thinking about, and feel free to like keep the chat going. And like I said, we'll stay on and answer questions or just, love on Leica some more. But I wanted to give y'all a little sense of what's coming up. Number one, I hope that everybody who's here will take some time to celebrate the wins that we did get, because we did get some. These maps are better than what we would have had. That congressional map is a huge improvement on what we had before. And that's a win, and we should all consider that a win. And also, the House map and even the Senate map is better than the one we had before. So appreciate that. Take some time to rest. We are going to come back together in March. I don't have the link ready for you yet, but I will put it in at the follow-up email. I hope y'all will come back in March and we can talk about, what needs to happen the rest of this year. I think we are planning to do another Fair Map Summit. There's a lot to talk about. There is going to be redistricting again, and there's a lot we can be doing now to prepare. And so I hope that y'all will come back, even though Leica won't be there. But we're going to keep working, and it'll be fun. And there's lots of things that we can do this year that will be useful, I think. So thank you all for being here, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then I see some hands up. Can we go? I think I saw Viola's first, and then Charlene.
I had the question if the different maps, the Senate and the state House maps, if they were also based on any kind of proportion population, like if I understood it right, the congressional map is based on a equal Democrat and Republican voter registration. Is that correct?
Yes. So the Supreme Court asked for the maps to meet certain metrics to create a certain level of partisan symmetry.
Right.
The maps that we have met them to better and worse degrees. We don't think the Senate maps met those metrics very well, if at all. The House maps met them somewhat. So yeah, but that was in place by the court.
Okay, so and that was something that had to be considered for all three maps.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I needed to catch up on that. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you. And great job. I am so impressed, by the way, how you held this together and how you informed us all. Hats off to both of you. It was a joy and it was marvelous. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Super job. I've never seen something quite like this. I mean, on a short notice for everybody. It was really exciting. So thank you. And I think we do have something to celebrate. So we will look forward to March.
Thank you.
And I will miss seeing your glasses. I never quite know. Thank you. They keep me cheery every time. I'm sorry, my chat isn't working. So I'm speaking directly, but I wish you the very, very best.
Oh, thank you so much, Liz.
Well, thank you both for everything. I have really, as someone else said, I've really enjoyed doing this sort of. I mean, I'm tired, but you guys are stupendous. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you. And as you just referenced, we have to celebrate the victories because it's hard work.
We have some.
And we do. We really, really do. Yep.
One step at a time.
Looks really Charlene. I see a few hands I want to make sure we get to. Charlene Henderson, did you want to unmute?
I think I am unmuted already.
You are.
But Bree, thank you both for the hard work. I definitely want to say that because I've been following you and trying to keep up. But on a local level, you know that we're still dealing with what we're dealing with right here in Charlotte area. I am the precinct chair of 82, and also 42 and 26 are directly affected because it's brown and black communities that are being pushed into areas that have no communities of interest. So we're still in the fight as well. The judge, they counted us out, but the judge has given us so much credit for what we've been doing right here in Charlotte, and now and we've been battling this thing for months now. And now we're about at the end of it. And it's unfortunate that we start our election process tomorrow. But the judge gave us 30 days to actually get an attorney, a civil attorney, to actually put it in jargon that he could actually rule on for a state of the claim. And that's what our plight is right now. It's like, it is so hard to find a civil attorney. So while this is ending, I'm just, offline, maybe you and I could, email each other or whatnot and see if you could, reference me to someone or, some entity that could, turn our jargon, which is emotions and feelings, into something that the judge can actually rule on, because he did give us leeway to say that it's gerrymandering all day long and that he was a part of a case that he had to rule on in our favor. But in order for that to happen, it has to be on lawyer terms or whatnot. So if you could, offline, get back with me. Thank you so much for everything that you guys have been doing on a state level, And then I will, hopefully give you an update later on.
Great. I'm gonna put my email in the chat, and feel free to, can you shoot me an email with that, and we'll set up a time to talk. And if anyone else would like to touch base about anything, feel free to email me and we'll find a time to talk. I know there's probably a lot of questions and people might have more questions, as this all sinks in as well.
Yeah, well, we're still in the fight right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, yeah,
absolutely. Yep. And okay, so Pat, I'm going to put people in kind of a order of, so Pat Leviton, and then Kristen, and then John, and I'll just go through the order that y'all are on my screen.
Okay, thanks, Bree. So good luck to you. If I start wearing glasses, can I have some of your frames?
I will tell you all where I got these from. I don't know if you all see this, but like if you're on Instagram or something, I always get advertised these really cheap glasses places, and that's where I get all of mine. I think this one is called Z Glasses, like ZEE glasses. Lots of fun stuff in there. I actually was looking at it the other day. I was like, maybe I need some new fun glasses, so I recommend it.
Thank you.
And then how do we find out, like my precinct 33, I'm a vice chair, we've got moved into Hawthorne's District 61 on the house map. So how do we find out? Is that a totally lost cause? We got moved out of Pricey Harrison, who was on the map committee. She was awesome with all her questions, and we're sick about losing her.
Yeah.
So how do we find out? Do you know if Hawthorne's 100% red?
As far as like the breakdown,
61.
I think that we'll probably see more analyses coming out about the maps. We just, since this just got decided last night, we just haven't seen that much analysis. We have the seat, like we said, we have the seat breakdowns, but I couldn't actually tell you which seats where and like how competitive the districts are. But I'm assuming that we'll see a lot of that analysis coming out from people on Twitter and stuff over the next few days. But this is so new.
Yeah, and our biggest job is just to get the vote out, because we can win the midterms, and we need to realize that there's no reason for us not to. Thanks for all you guys. You guys are amazing.
Thanks, Pat. Kristen?
Hey, y'all. Thank you again so much for all of your work. Quick question about, so I noticed that it said like the interim map, and you said that it goes through the end of 2022, but like, what happens if like it doesn't get challenged by like 2024 and it changes by then? Will it just like stick and be adopted for the next 10 years?
So the congressional map, that's the map.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So we really don't know. You know, there is the possibility that it could be redrawn. That's something that's not, unlike the state with the state legislative maps, it's not against our constitution for that to happen. We just don't know. But you know, since they're terming it the interim map, I don't know if we'll see that map again after this year.
Oh, interesting. So the people that get elected, you know, in November will be representing us from those maps for at least like 2 years.
And they would be the ones to redraw.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, this could be either a nightmare or something really great. We'll have to
Yeah,
see.
well, I mean, you know, did you really expect redistricting stuff to end in North Carolina? Come on.
Oh,
Don't be
no. We're so well known for gerrymandering. So
We were hoping to work ourselves out of a job, but no such luck.
yeah, no. All right. Thanks so much, y'all.
Thanks, Kristen.
Oh.
John, Emily, Donna, and Rolinda. John, do you want to go?
Yeah, the what I just wanted to raise is that if I understand it correctly, there are 2 judges, Supreme Court justices up for election. And right now the Democrats have a 5-4 advantage. And that's what saved our butt. If we hadn't had a 5-4 advantage, none of this would have happened, no matter how hard we work, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And the 2 justices that are up for re-election in this November are Democrats. So right away, the Republicans have an advantage in that they don't have to defend any statewide Chief Justice seats. The Republicans, I mean, the Democrats have to defend 2. And we were started working on our precinct strategy, and I raised the point that and mostly we're just focusing local, you know, get our local representative and senator back in. And while I'm sympathetic with that, I'm like, you know, if we can't get the 2 Democratic justices reelected or whoever's running in there, this will all be gone. I mean, the Republicans will immediately challenge it. They'll take it all the way up to the state Supreme Court. And the same thing will happen to our state Supreme Court that's happening in the country's Supreme Court. There's very little appreciation for precedent, and it'll just be overturned. So all those people working in their precinct, I think the second thing you got to do is make sure, get out the vote, to your point, and then make sure people vote all the way down the ballot and understand how important. Last time, Sherry Beasley lost the Chief Justice ship by 401 votes. 401 votes. We couldn't get out 401 more Democrats. And if she had been Chief Justice, we wouldn't have had that 3-judge panel that was so conservative. And we could have avoided a lot of this. So yeah, you know, support your local, but be very aware that what's happening at the state level and what saved us this time.
John, you're absolutely right. Those state Supreme Court races are going to be absolutely crucial. Definitely something that I'm sure all the line is going to focus on this year, because state Supreme Court seats are so crucial to redistricting issues. So, but thank you for talking to everyone about that, because it's true.
A lot at stake. Thanks, John. Yep. Emily?
Yes, I am new to all on the line, and I'm, on a quick learning curve. And the other week, you sent out a form where you for the newspaper for the letters to the editor, and you put in the information, and you gave us a brief scenario of what you think that the letter should look like. And then the next week, I think there was something about sending a letter to the representatives. And do we just wait for those emails or from you all, or is there a place to go and access that?
Yeah, the primary way that we communicate calls to action, things like that, is through the email newsletter. So if you're here and you're not on our email, you're not getting the email newsletter, I will find the link and drop it. And I'll include it in the, you will be on it now, because if you're here, you'll get added to it. That's the primary way. It's very hard for us to get our website changed because it's a national website. So we communicate primarily. We are also on social media, but the email newsletter is the main way. And one of the things I think we'll do at the March meeting is talk about what actions, we as a group are, what we should be doing now, and what actions we can be taking. And we have some ideas that we'll talk about in March as far as actions going forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you. Donna and then Rolinda.
Hey, thank you. And I want to thank you, Lika, and good luck to you. I know you're going to shine wherever you go. I am a new being at this. I would like someone to explain to me on the house map what is going on in the Durham County. It's just so many colors in there, and I'm looking at this for the first time tonight, and I tried to blow it up, but it's just a big blur. Can you explain to me why there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different colors in there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So Durham is one of those places that's very, there's a large, people are very concentrated. So those are all different districts that have the House and Senate districts have to be about the same size within plus or minus 5% of the ideal population size. So in a place like Durham, each individual district will be much geographically smaller. Like the size of the space will be smaller because a lot more people live here. I'm also in Durham. And I honestly haven't looked very, very closely at this map. I believe it was the House map that changed. They accepted an amendment from Zach Hawkins, I think, who represents Durham. So he wanted to make some changes based on communities of interest here that they accepted, but I haven't looked closely at the map. But if you would like to find some time to get together and look at the map together, I'd be very happy to do that and answer any other questions.
Okay, super. Thank you. Appreciate that. I look forward to it.
Great. Thank you. Rolinda?
I have a question. I noticed, I'm new to this also on this part, but I was an observer last year, and that's I'm at the Pamlico County Progressive, and I'm also on the other board also. And what has amazed me from last year's election, we've had quite a few Democrats and Republicans change their status to independent. How do we manage to find out what, they can go independent, they can go either way. They go Republican or Democrat. And also, and if this is true, last week I found out that we've got 30 Democrats up there in DC that's not planning on running for re-election. We've got our work cut out for us. With the Lord's blessing, we got our work cut out for us.
That is absolutely true. I hadn't heard that number, but I believe it.
It's 30 of my last week that I found out that's getting ready, that's not planning on running for re-election again.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. And I guess it's a good thing, that's one of the reasons why it's good that North Carolina got a fair map, because that, will help elect Democrats from North Carolina.
Excuse me for cutting you. GK Butterfield is one of them. He's not running for re-election.
He's not running. Yeah.
Right. He's not running for re-election. And I just hated that Greg Murphy got in the seat.
Yeah.
Me too.
We got to work with the Lord's blessing. We got to figure out a way to work hard and get people in there and stop promising us they're going to do one thing. And when they get in there, they turn around and do something else different.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. You were talking about voters registered as unaffiliated.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's another.
Unaffiliated.
I mean, North Carolina is about a third of registered voters are unaffiliated. So that is certainly something I hope that I know there's some people on this call who work with organizations that are doing voter outreach who are thinking a lot about that. And I think that's a very important thing for folks to be thinking about, for sure.
Actually, I meant to say unaffiliated, but that doesn't work too well. Doesn't work well at all.
Yeah, and they can't vote in. Ken, in North Carolina, do we have open primaries? You can vote in. You can just choose, right? When you go.
No.
No.
Yes, you have to go in and declare what you were going to vote.
You have to ask, though. You don't. It's not automatic. You have to ask. But if you're unaffiliated,
you can choose either one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Rolinda, for that. I want to call on Kevin, and then I know we're past our hour, so also just want to say, verbally, thank you all so much for being here, and for all of your work and support this year. Really just appreciate everyone so much. I'll put my email again in the chat if folks want to reach out.
I'll put my email as well, if people want to reach out. Like I said, I'll still have my email for a few weeks, so if you want to get in touch, please let me know.
Thank you both. I need you to sign out. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Kevin, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I'll echo, of course, the thanks to both you guys for all the work you did. But there's so much going on nationally, statewide, locally. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of disruption in our country, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. So I'm running across a lot of people that are interested in doing, quote, something, but they don't know what that something is because they're not politically active people. So I put one in the chat. I saw some other people put some other organizations in the chat. I think one of the best things I can do with my time, and other people can consider it, is find these organizations that are popping up and are connecting people with, inactive people politically, but they are frustrated and they know things are screwed up and they're afraid of what might happen and our democracy's in trouble, et cetera. But it's easy to get overwhelmed. So Join the Union is an example. The Lincoln Project is partnering with them. And all you do is go on the website, you fill out a couple of things and they will find something for you to do. So you don't have to do all the work of people like us who have figured it out by now, or help at least have some idea. They just put me to work. So there's a lot of people that fall into that category. So I would encourage as many of us that can do so, find those organizations that are doing that and steer people there, So anyway.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. And I want to just lift up something in the chat. If folks are in that boat of, wanting to get involved, not sure what to do next. The New North Carolina Project is new. It is run by a Black woman who ran for office in North Carolina in the legislature, and Kristen Havlick is here and just put a link in the chat. So encourage folks to check them out. There are tons of volunteer opportunities, and also can certainly use donations, even if it's just in a small amount, to get they're new, but they're doing a lot of work already. Yes, Amy Steele.
Also, did Kevin put Lincoln Project and or any others in the chat? Am I missing that?
Further up in the chat, it's called jointheunion.us. That's the organization.
Okay.
I will try to pull all of the links out of the chat and put them in the email.
Great.
Thank you.
Dropped.
Because I know other people put some others in there.
I know it's hard to get them out of the chat.
Yeah.
After I sat here, I'm trying to write as fast as I can.
And the the new North Carolina project is following Abrams' pattern for Georgia.
Model. Mhm.
It is spectacular. The problem is that having to hire the people they're hiring and going through the steps they have to go through to guarantee the vote costs $32 to register. Because they're going to register, continue with them, check on the vote. So it's a big thing for raising money. So if you have anybody in the area that you're in looking for a place to donate, that's a big thing. And they said that in Georgia, it was particularly successful because it was people of color going into people of color's neighborhoods and feeling very at home, and the people answering the door felt very at home. And so they want to hire all these great young Black kids who are going to go into neighborhoods, and they'll probably need a lot of money to be able to handle that. Right now in our district, we're doing a fundraiser on the 27th of March. And, you know, the ask is big, but I think they need to realize that if you can't do a big $320, 10 people, ask people to give $32. That seems much more realistic. Or give their time to organizing.
Yep. Thank you, Trish. I see Michelle's hand as well, and then we'll sign off soon.
Oh.
Actually, I was just gonna ask if you could gather all those links from the chat and to us, so that would be great. It sounds like you're gonna handle that. And so also just huge thank you to Leica. Holy cow, girl, what an awesome job you did. And it's amazing. And also I wish you the best in your new adventure. And so are you going to be on your own, Bree, for a little while here at this point?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, alone with all of you.
With all so, the main driver, you're gonna be it.
Mike and I have already cried about this, so
yes, me too.
Mostly me.
No doubt. Well, anyway, we're with you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we should wrap it up because it's 7:15 and I know people have, probably other things to get to. But I appreciate everybody, hanging on to the end here and asking great questions. And if anyone didn't have a chance, if you have an organization that you want me to include that, can use volunteer power, email me and I'll include the link in the follow-up email. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, people are putting stuff in the chat, and there are a lot of great organizations that have been doing the work in North Carolina for a long time. And obviously there is a ton of work to do, and just appreciate all of y'all for the incredible work that we've done together on redistricting in particular this year. It was really necessary to, get us in a good place to actually, compete and be able to have voters' voices matter. And that's what we were after. And I think that we came a long way towards that. And one more time, just, thank you so much, Leica, for leading this work for so long and being such a, expert and great organizer and nice person with really great hair.
Thank you all so much. I'm going to miss you all. I really, really am. I'm going to miss you all so much. I'm so grateful.
Good luck. They're lucky to get you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.